Hi everyone. Hope you are having a great start to a weekend, and I also hope that you are getting yourself comfy. Well, we are going to start our live stream for today. Today's live with Red Dot Diva, I have a special guest. They are the creators of a new comic called Worlds Apart: A Conversation About Mental Health, and I will introduce them shortly. But for those who are not familiar with who I am, I'm Red Dot Diva. I'm a lifestyle and entertainment blogger based in Singapore, and I've been doing this about, I think this is my 11th year, if I'm not mistaken. I decided to start this live stream to focus on Southeast Asian creators. This was actually started 2 years ago. I didn't expect for it to run this long. In fact, it was also one of those things that happened during the pandemic. A lot of people started creating something during the pandemic, and this was it. But it has been so fulfilling, and I've met a lot of interesting people throughout the Southeast Asian region, Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesian, and Filipino comics and artists and creators of maybe even podcasts, cosplayers, and toy collectors even. So today we have a very special. I know I every time say it's special, but it is special. I think each podcast to me is special. I hope you feel that way too. We have the creators of Worlds Apart: A Conversation About Mental Health as a comic published by Defense Engine, and they are Wayne Ray and Nurjannah Suhaimi. So Wayne is a very familiar face to some of you. He has appeared in many of my live streams, and he's a pretty good friend. We do chat offline as well, and we share about things concerning about our lives. And I'm so glad to have him back here as the writer of this comic. So Wayne, hello. How are you today?
Hello.
You too.
I
Start
must do
this
the
conversation
you
about mental
you
health.
also do it. Yes. Hello. I give intro for anybody who's not familiar with
Yes,
me
please
first.
introduce yourself to the viewers or audience out there who are not familiar with you. And if you're here joining us, do say hi. We will say hi back.
Yes, please say hi. We very friendly, don't bite one. Um Hi, I'm Wayne. I am the co-creator of Worlds Apart. I'm also the co-creator of the upcoming prose and comics mashup with Benjamin Chi. It's called Work-Life Balance. I've done a whole bunch of short stories. The last collection that had them had one of my short stories was the Epigram. Can't remember the full title. Epigram Books Collection of Best New Singaporean Short Stories. Love the collection. Very long title. Always gonna remember. That's me. And now I shall also welcome onto the stage my co-creator for Worlds Apart, Nurjannah Suhaimi. Jannah!
Hi, hello. I'm Jana. I am the illustrator for Worlds Apart. Yeah, very exciting to be here.
So of course, everyone will be probably curious, especially those who are not familiar with the comic, as to how you guys, the super creator duo teamed up and have this happen. Yeah. Maybe you
Super.
could also give a rough idea about what the comic is about, because I think many of them will not be aware of what it looks like. Even it looks like this.
Wait, which
This.
direction am I pointing? I think I'm pointing in the right direction in the stream.
It's
Yeah,
a it's a like a
we're getting good at this. We're getting good at
it's a
this.
comic short. It's a very short comic. Yeah, it's not
It's a
like
very
those thick graphic novels that you will have see on bookstores. Yeah.
uh we both very talkative. So Jana, you wanna go first or I go first?
You go first,
Both. I go first. Okay, get.
Of
I
course.
like I like to talk. Um, Worlds Apart is the story of the main character. Her name is Carissa. Um, it's about her meeting her friend to catch up for coffee. The friend in this case, of course, is whoever is reading the comic. So she'll be talking directly to the reader. And over the course of them catching up over coffee, Jana pula.
Yeah, me.
Carissa, yes, you. um, very inventive. I write the comic, put the artist name inside. The main character Carissa reveals that she's been diagnosed with depression, and from there, she starts talking to the reader about what she goes through, the stigmas and the misconception. The basic idea of the comic is that conversations about mental health are always very difficult, whether it's, you're the person who doesn't know much about mental health, or whether you're somebody who knows who's got mental health conditions or who knows more about mental health, and you try to talk to somebody. These kind of conversations are always very difficult. They sometimes very awkward, or even if both parties are quite open to discussion, sometimes there's, you don't know where to start and all things. So the whole point of Worlds Apart was that we wanted it to be almost like a tool that you can use to kind of facilitate the conversation. So if you're familiar with, mental health, you're a bit more familiar with mental conditions, and you know somebody who wants to find out more, then you can take a comment and just give it to them as like, okay, here's a good starting point, and then from there, we can continue talking about it lah. But yeah, that's the point of it. How it got started was Difference Engine actually approached me because I think I'm very loud and open about. Why you laugh? I like how you laugh at the loud part. It is true. I'm very loud and open about my support for my fiancée Nadia. She's a mental health advocate. She's a caregiver. So I've always been quite open about that, and I've already been working with Difference Engine on work-life balance for like the last don't know how many years because of the pandemic. So they're familiar with me, and so they approached me and they asked me, do you want to do this? Initially, it was supposed to be, I think the initial discussions we had was like, we do webcomic lah. But then I think it kind of evolved because they have the DE Shorts series, and the first one was about periods. It's called A Drip, A Drop, A Deluge. So we're the second issue lah. So they thought, okay, let's expand it to something more. Then I think from there they had a few artists in mind. Now you can smile because you know the compliments coming, right, Jannah?
Same.
I pretend to be shy. Okay, pretend to be shy.
Team up.
Must cover
the origin story.
No, so they showed me like a whole bunch of artists, and like they're all good artists and everything lah. But we needed like somebody who's a very good storyteller, somebody who's excellent at like facial expressions, and because a lot of the comic is Carissa's reaction to the invisible friend who is so like literally at least half of the story is told purely with the facial expressions that Jannah comes up with. So that's the moment I saw her work, I was like, okay, that one confirm. They're like, you any second choice? I was like, I got lah, but this one is a very strong first choice. She's my first, second, and third choice. I got fourth and fifth choice, but she's my first few choices.
So that question, Jannah,
Yes.
did you like respond to was it a pitch like Difference Engine was asking for artists, or how did that happen that they knew about your existence?
Actually, because my friend is working in Difference Engine, and then she just randomly asked me, "Hey, Jannah, do you want to make a comic?" I was like, "Sure, what's it about? Mental health. Okay, can." Don't need to read anything else, can. Because at that time I just graduated, so I wanted to explore like what I could do. So like currently I'm working as a full-time graphic designer, but also like on the sidelines I'm doing like multiple different projects to see like I have this youth stamina, so I'm just gonna make use of it. Do as many things as I can. So yeah, that's how I landed here with Wayne.
Yeah,
And
it
somehow
was
we never spoke before ever. Only met like a couple of times during the whole process, but we gel so well. Because got some people who cannot shut up.
Correct. Both cannot shut up. Both very noisy.
And it was your first like comic, right?
My first published
storytelling.
Yeah. Initially, like I used to write comics and draw it. For my final year project, I did that. But I soon realized that I'm very bad at writing it. So I think I'm just going to stick to drawing it. So when my friend pitched that somebody else is writing it, I was like, okay, can. As long as it's not me.
It's okay. I cannot even draw stick figure properly. So
Yeah, exactly.
So when this idea was pitched to you to have this DE shot on mental health, um, then the story, like how did it come about? When what was your framing? Like you decided to break the fourth wall with Carissa, and like who was she based on, and then was Jana involved in designing her as well, her hair, her facial expressions?
I love how people really love her hair.
Yeah,
I think it's
really,
like,
her hair is like.
Is
yeah,
it?
yeah. Apparently,
Wait, you said
apparently,
you want to grow your hair long, right? So maybe.
I
aha.
call it the water bull, the cow.
I thought
Cause
it's
got like,
I thought it's like what anime. It wasn't just water bull. It's like anime water bull haircut, right?
yeah,
Is that-
it's
yeah.
very
Let me see whether can see her hair.
exaggerated.
So nice.
That
Love
one
it.
is all Jana, by the way. The design for, I think the design for, yeah, actually the design for all the characters was either all Jana, or you work with Sophia, the editor, right? I think you might work with Sophia on
Yeah,
some of the designs.
initially. So we had to go through a few rounds to see like how the style looked like. So initially, of course, the first draft is not very polished, but then the second draft onwards was like very close to this already. Yeah. So if you're interested about the hair, it was a very conscious choice because Carissa was described to me as a Gen Z like young person. So I was looking at the trendy hairstyles of the kids nowadays. And now it's very specific. Like, you know how we have like the millennials have like the side swoop or like bangs or anything, but the kids are like center parting realness. So I was like, okay, we're gonna do center parting Carissa. She's hip and cool.
I'm sorry, I want to step in here now. Okay,
I think I heard a center part.
no, hey, wait. Now you see got heated debate going on all. I'm sorry, my people when young in the 90s all got center parting hair one. They call it the curry pot hair.
Yes. Coming
So-
back in fashion.
Must give credit where due.
Yeah.
My curry
Yeah,
pot hair very
exactly.
ugly lah. now got man bun instead.
Okay,
It's
that
quite
was
funny.
the design of Carissa,
Yeah.
but when her voice and her personality, did you base it on someone else, or
I based it on a few people. It's quite funny because Carissa is named after my cousin. And when we had the launch event, my actual cousin Carissa was down there. And I didn't show Jana like any photos of her or anything. I was like,
Yeah.
I don't want you to do like a version of her. I want you to do your own idea of what she will look like lah. So I base Carissa's voice a bit on the real Carissa, a bit on actually she's a bit of a lot of people lah. So when I was writing the comic, even before I started writing the comic, I've spoken to a lot of people who have had this conversation with their friends or their colleagues or their family, where they've had to, either because they have mental health conditions or they're more familiar with it, or they know somebody who has it and then they want to talk to somebody about it. So her voice is based on a lot of those conversations that people have had. I've had those conversations also. So that's where her voice is a weird combination of like at least 5 or 6 different people. But because all the questions and all the answers and all the I have to answer this question again kind of tone, that it's so sadly common, and like it's not anybody's fault or anything lah, because some people just don't know. But the fact that it's up to these people to do it, like they've had the conversation so many times, so it's not that hard to write lah. You talk to like 3 people who've gone through the conversation and you'll see all the similarities. Yeah, and that's why I had most of the comic is the reader is talking to Carissa, so Carissa is having a conversation with you, because I wanted to get that across, because I was thinking about conversations I've had also, where when I talk to people about this kind of thing, it's never that they're when the conversation comes up, it's never that they're aggressive about it. It's that they just don't know lah. Like
Yeah.
I'm lucky lah. I've spoken, and I know a lot of people who have varying degrees of mental health conditions. So to me it's like, okay lah, it's like it's a normal thing, what. So that's not the same for a lot of people. So yeah lah, that's the approach I took. Sorry, very very long-winded answer, I realize.
No, I find it interesting that you actually, I mean, because of your experience as well with people who have these issues, and then you, like when you're saying that you spoke to people about like starting a conversation and they tell you the same kind of reaction that they receive from, and then you
Always.
like infuse it into Carissa in the book. That was like so interesting. And Jana, I know that there's a lot of headshots, right, of
Yes.
Carissa. You see, like the way she could. Did you use a mirror?
Oh. Well, as you can see,
It's
from my
mostly
face,
like,
for those watching,
reactions from the top up. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Oh, I acted out the whole time. I am Carissa while I'm drawing Carissa. I have to be my art. Just helps me get into the mood. But yeah, I contort my face a lot. But one of the tips that I've been given is to use references, especially like children's faces, because they are very expressive. Like adults can also be expressive, but there's a certain like holding back within adults because they want to look like presentable. But for kids, they don't care, so they just like like that. And so yeah, it's then I like break down like what are the crease lines or like the important parts that make it that bring that emotion out. And then I created, because like sometimes you draw realistic, you cannot see the emotion, but sometimes you draw as a cartoon, you can see the emotion. It's very weird how it works like that. But yeah, then after that I put like in a character sheet and I just use it as references, like the body poses and everything, so it like works smart, not draw everything from scratch. Got reference.
Very clever.
And during the making of this comic, right, I know that the Singapore Association of Mental Health was also kind of like mentoring the whole entire project. Were they very involved, like on it most of the time, or did they only get involved if you required certain notes, let's say?
I like how you point to it. Let me point the right angle. I'm getting used to pointing in the right direction now. No, they were very good about it, because like I think it was the Singapore Association of Mental Health. It was also Caregivers Alliance Limited.
Oh, okay.
So we had spoken to both of them about the comic, and how it worked was I had written out the full script, and Jana had done quite detailed thumbnails, I think, by that point. So they could look at what we had done and they could read it, even though it wasn't the finished version. They could read and see what we were doing. So at that point, before Jana started finishing up and polishing up the art, they would come in, they would give any comments. If they thought, oh, this might not be the best way to phrase it, or people might misconstrue this as something else, then they'll give the feedback. We had them, and I think we had one or two other readers from different industries, not necessarily working in mental health, but something like close to that involves mental health also. So they came in and they gave their comments as well. And yeah, so the story itself didn't change at all. Like I think the overall story itself didn't change at all. It was just, I was quite lucky in that sense, because it was just minor things where they were like, oh, maybe you want to phrase it this way instead. And I was like, oh, okay, can. So we changed small things here and there, but it was never like big story changes or anything like that. So they came in quite, I'd say probably a little bit after the midpoint and then that's where we started refining everything from there.
But did they give any interesting pointers? Notes, let's say?
I think it was, they didn't have to give anything like super like like stuff that we're like, oh, completely blindsided by, because like
That's good.
that is, I felt them good also about that. I was like, yeah, all right, we're gonna. No, but because like when we came up with the idea, I think even before Jana came in, we were conscious about the fact that, okay lah, mental health is a very broad topic. Like, I think I mentioned something in the intro where like you can talk about like mental health in the office, mental health in your family, you can talk about treatment, you can talk about this, you can talk about that, and that's like, it's a whole thing. And then you want to talk about all of that in like, what was it? What did we do? Like 32 pages, 22 pages?
Yeah, 32
I can't remember how picture. 22 pages.
Very
You want to
short.
fit on exactly. You want to fit all that in 22 pages. Good luck, So we figured, okay lah, let's just focus on one aspect of it. So we figured, okay lah, if we want to look at one aspect, I think the aspect that drew me in the most was the stigmatization and the misconceptions, and what people think mental health is versus what mental health actually is. And I figured, okay lah, if we're gonna start somewhere for mental health, we start at the beginning. So before we can even get to treatment, before we can get to culture, all that, let's just start the conversation first. And then we start the conversation, and then we'll move forward from there. So I think that's why like Singapore Association of Mental Health and Caregivers Alliance didn't have like very, very in-depth kind of feedback. Like, no, you need to change all of this. This doesn't make any sense. Because I think we all kind of started from a very simple place lah. See, like,
That's
talk a lot.
And what are the challenges that you guys face while working on this comic? I think we were still on lockdown then, right? Yeah.
Yes,
Jana?
sure. Lockdown. Very tough to work during lockdown. Trying to like show the work through like WhatsApp or whatnot. It's just like, do you understand what I'm trying to say? I hope you do. But yeah, and then like also working from home, like I need to be out and surrounded by people, so that was definitely a mental toll on me as well. So I tried to go out as much as I can to do my work at the library near my house. At least some differences. Yeah. So I guess like visually some of the initial difficulties was when we were transitioning from, like, in the comic there's the real world and then there's the fantasy world.
Correct, right?
So
Yes.
yeah, there's a fashion aspect to it. Because it's like she has to wear like different outfits and all that. So
like
yeah,
D&D,
I gathered. Yeah, very fun. There was a sci-fi superhero and
fantasy.
like fantasy, like D&D like that.
Yeah.
So trying to design all of that using references. I think the last two I was quite good, but like the sci-fi one was a little bit hard for me because in it, like throughout the entire thing, the designs, I really wanted to have like Southeast Asian influence, like not a lot, but just enough for you to understand that it's like a bit more on the Southeast Asian side. So yeah, the first one was the sci-fi one was a tough one for me because like Southeast Asian astronaut, trying to find references. Cause like D&D, okay, like got some warrior temples I can look at, and then the superhero one we got like, okay, warrior princess also superhero. This is sci-fi. We all go space.
Okay lah. I think you did quite okay for the sci-fi. Yeah.
Then I think I forgot who was it. Josephine or Sophia gave me like a set of references, like how like Asian garments usually are. So like there's no buttons. There's actually more of the wraps and stuff like that. I was like, oh, I see. Then like gathered more of like the regular like traditional clothing, and then like make it more into sci-fi. And I was like, okay, I think it looks good. Not too much, but still there.
I like the approach of it. So because like the sci-fi, like, I mean, okay lah, we talk about like sci-fi fantasy and all this, and then people are like, what's going on? So we use like in the story we use sci-fi, fantasy, and superheroes to kind of help with the conversation because like it's a comic lah, so we use elements that people are familiar with in comics. So like the first one was the sci-fi one, so okay lah, still quite alright. Then you kind of ramped up the Southeast Asianness. And you kind of ramped up the Southeast Asianness as we went along in the story also. So I thought it worked quite well actually. So yeah.
This is the
Yeah, so you
space
can
one.
see the pants is
Yeah.
like harem pants. Then the like this X at the top is like a wrap type deal. Yeah.
Yeah. Very nicely done. I think my favorite was still the fantasy ones. I really like
The fantasy one is
Yeah,
my
I really
favorite
like the
also.
fantasy ones too.
Inspired by, I think it was a Thai temple. Like I love the way it
Mm,
just like has the curves at the side and like layers. It was
yeah.
very inspiring.
We had someone who said hi. So hi, Charlie. I'm not sure if you're
Hi.
still watching, but if you are, hi. And if anybody else is watching, you can say hi too. And
Say hi.
so put in your questions, because I don't think we want to have a very strict, dedicated Q&A, segment. If you have a question, just post it, and we'll get back to you whenever there's a nice point where we can start
Yes.
to discuss about what you want to talk about.
Don't worry,
Going
we're very friendly.
yes,
Yeah, as you can see, we also cannot keep quiet. So
of course.
oh yeah, this was the
This
postcard that came with the book.
yes.
I'm
Yes.
wondering what you're doing just now, like all the noise on the corner.
Looking for the yeah. It comes with
I
the
always feel
envelope.
admiring her hair.
I love
Jealous,
it.
my hair is straight, cannot, I perm also cannot one.
It's very
I-
there's a reason why I did that, like water counting. It's very interesting because like Carissa travels through like different universe and all that, right? Like fantasy and all that. So I wanted to make sure that the reader knows that it's Carissa. Because like obviously when I draw, she's gonna look different because of the way I hold my pen or whatever.
Correct.
But the one thing that stay consistent is that
It's not,
that thing. Very good.
I like how you say she'll look different. I thought you were gonna say, oh, because different angle, right? Oh, because of the way I hold my pen. Sorry,
I hold my pen this way lah.
Tina, you said you cannot do the thing
Cannot
like that
lah.
because my
This is why I
hair
have
feeling
short
confronting.
hair lah.
Stephen Banks.
Cannot.
Oh, Charlie has
It doesn't curl at all.
pattern.
It's very stubborn. I've tried. When you perm my hair, you'll go straight already. After that, waste money, few $100, also cannot. That's why I'm very jealous of people who are able to have that kind of hair. Charlie has a question.
I don't know where you're pointing also.
There you go.
How would you both like to carry on the conversation now that the comic is out in the wild?
Oh, very clever. It works for you, right? Because like I can never see, am I pointing in the right direction? Okay, yeah, okay lah. She can do that faster lah, because she know which direction I'm in.
Yes.
I don't know. I just want to see, now that it's out in the wild. I think we've kind of encouraged this in the comic, but I think it's also worth saying again where when we were coming out with the comic, we had two audiences in mind. So the first audience is, we want people who actively have these conversations anyway to know you're not alone. As difficult as it might seem sometimes, as awkward or as troublesome as it might seem sometimes, you're not alone. So, that comic hopefully reminds them that. That's why it's, in a way, it's good also that when I was talking to people, like everybody had very similar stories. Like there were small differences but everybody had a kind of a similar story Like the person they were talking to will always ask this question, or they will make this statement, and then you'll be like, no, it's not that. The other audience was for people who are not familiar with mental health. So how we want to get the conversation rolling is, it's good that you picked it up because you're interested and you are more aware. I think to keep the conversation going more, the second half is give it to somebody who is not as familiar. It's meant to be a tool. It's a comic, yes, but it's also a tool to facilitate the conversation. So keep passing that forward and have that be a way to keep the conversation rolling. I think beyond that, that's a loaded question. Because like which direction I want to go in, there are a lot of directions. I don't know. I hope I'm not gonna I'm not gonna say that our comic will be the thing that changes the world. But I hope it does do that in some small way. I hope that this helps. Hopefully lah, it's not gonna happen right away, but hopefully over time, because of comics like ours, because of a whole bunch of other different reasons as well. I hope after a while it stops becoming so cannot talk about it, mental health.
like a unique
Cannot
thing,
talk.
right? Yeah.
Like not like
mainstream, yeah.
yeah, it's not just like unique, but like everybody's so scared to talk about it. Like that. Yeah, so I hope it just becomes easier. I hope it becomes more normal, because it's so normal anyway. Like mental health conditions are like scary things, then just normal things that pretty much everybody goes through. So yeah lah. Now okay.
Okay, yes, me.
Yes.
I guess for me, like the fact that it's out in the wild is really up to like people's interpretation once they read it. Some people maybe they see it, they're like, not another like mental health thing without even reading it. But like I hope like even with that, just having seen the words like a conversation about mental health, subconsciously it really like inspires them to like think about what they actually like feel about it and how they are affected by mental health. As Wayne said, I don't expect it to be like the thing that changes the whole game. But I think just like small things like this, like we make one, then maybe it inspires somebody, like another artist, to create their own artwork or comic about mental health. Then like it starts to become normalized, and it's normal things. Don't need to be scary.
So you were mentioning about
scary.
you were mentioning about other
sorry.
artists and there are other comics as well. So I think it comes to my next question. Why do you think comics is a medium that is suited for a conversation about this topic?
I go first, boss. Thank you, boss. Thank you, boss.
Also, right?
No, it's not so much that I want to talk. Is that I've got the beginning of a train of thought now there, because I've been thinking about this for a while. Like initially, like when they approached me, I'm like, oh, okay lah, fine lah. For me, it's like, oh, just tell story one. Then I was thinking about it even more and more, like how comics could it actually got me thinking while I started working on it. So like how comics is a good medium for this. And I'm thinking it does help that I just finished reading Scott McCloud's Understanding Comics. So he pointed out that comics, they people in comics, like Jana also said, like the characters are exaggerated a little bit to get facial expression and everything. But because they're exaggerated a little bit, right, then it's easier for people to look at a comic character and connect with that, as opposed to like say in a movie, if I see, I don't know, I gotta pick one random actor, Timothée Chalamet. If I see Timothée Chalamet on the screen talking about mental health, maybe I can connect to what he's saying. But then I look at him and I know like, okay lah, I mean, both got two eyes, both got one nose, both got one mouth. But the similarities are very wide between me and Timothée Chalamet. And I'm sure a lot of people will agree with that statement. But like, if you look at a comic character, because they don't look real. They don't look like real. So it's easier to make that connection a little bit more. Like, even though I look at the character Carissa and there are obvious differences. Like I said, I cannot do the water buffalo hairstyle, but like, the big eyes, the expressions, because they're exaggerated, I can see myself in that. I think that helps people to invest in it a little more. I also think that because comics, like as opposed to like say movies you sit down there and then you watch, and there's nothing wrong with that lah, but like comics, you actively have to turn the page, actively have to do this, so you invested more in it lah, like not just in terms of the visual but just the process of reading the comic. I think you're a bit more invested.
The reading is the part as well, so your brain is activated not just for the visual but also the mental part that actually understands language and so
exactly.
Okay. So and also it makes it very accessible to all ages.
Because like and accessible is the word also, because like if let's say there was a show about mental health on a streaming platform, what pass the link, whether or not people like if I see another link in WhatsApp, I'm like, oh okay lah, it's another link in WhatsApp. But then if somebody hands you a physical comic, then that it almost feels a bit more important because it's something physical also. So yeah lah. Okay.
Anna, any comments?
Yes. I think
Yes.
Patiently waiting.
this one is generally for me how I see like design in general, like graphic design, and like to point it back to comics. It's like you can only, because mental health is such an abstract concept for certain people, and like you cannot, it's not physical. Like there's no physical manifestation. Like you cannot really see. It looks different from person to person. So when it comes to visual and copy, I always try to strive for like that nice balance of value adding the visual to what the copy, like the script is saying lah. And I think that way it helps to spark like a imagination in a reader's brain, instead of like reading something then they don't understand, read 10 times to don't understand. Then at least like there's some visual cue.
Cues,
Oh
yeah.
right, that's the thing they're trying to say. You know, yeah, and it helps that it's pretty.
While trying to prepare for this live stream, I was kind of also looking for some kind of. I was doing a mini research as to what kind of comics out there in the wild that are not like well-known one, not like something that you have to really dig in and sieve through the soil like archaeology in order to find a comic on mental health. And unfortunately, it was kind of like archaeology because
Yeah.
when you talk about printed comics, I do notice that there were various interviews with creators or writers out there who are not based in Singapore. They were mainly like US and UK, maybe Australia, but they were self-published, very small, either self-published or very small printers. And when they had this interview, you can see that on Google, and after that, you didn't hear about it anymore. What I found out was that I think the more enduring ones that have some kind of connection to the topic of mental health, although not very directly, were actually webcomics. I think Wayne also mentioned, and I agree, which is Sarah Scribbles.
Yeah.
And there was this one about the two foxes as well. I think Foxes in Love. That
Oh
also
yeah.
a cute one, but there were
Yeah.
some messages inside. They were not very obvious messages. They were like side segue, but they were trying to hint on some things to make it very accessible. But in your scenario, right, in your own research, right, have you managed to find comics that inspired you about this particular subject?
I think it's not okay. It's not mental health in general. The closest I found, I remember, and I mean, I'm sure there are 1,000,001 comics out there that probably do touch on mental health. That I'm, for some reason, my brain keeps blanking out about. But the one that I remember was Joe Kelly and I hope I'm pronouncing his name right, Ken Niyomura. They did the comic I Kill Giants. It wasn't
Yes.
that one, it wasn't about mental health
Per
in a
se,
broad sense. Yeah, but it touched on aspects of mental health, like how people cope with grief. So, and I'm like, I'll give credit where due, like that definitely was a huge inspiration. Like later on, it was a conscious thing to me. I was like, oh, okay. I see what they did with that comic, and the kind of tools they use to talk about a difficult topic. So I will see whether I can use those tools for our conversation as well. But even before I started writing the script, I think that was always in the back of my mind, because that to me is a very good example of how you can take a difficult topic and weave it into something else so that it makes it a little bit more digestible for people. It's
Mm.
not like straight in your face, like we're going to talk about
Yeah.
grief. You make it more digestible. So I think if I learn from anywhere in terms of the subject matter, how to make it more digestible for people, that's where I got it from. How to make it easier for people to look at it and then go like, okay lah. So it doesn't feel like you're confronted with it. It feels like what it says on the cover lah. It's a conversation. It's not a lecture, or it's not a scolding or anything like that. It's a conversation. Yeah. So that was one for me.
Oh god, what to say after that? What was the question?
Sorry lah, I talk long one, then you forget question all.
Okay.
Comics. Were there any comics that influenced you? While you think about it, I just want to say it's hilarious that me and Jana, right, the whole time we making the comic, we never met in person. It was all Zoom calls, all WhatsApp conversations. And like I think to myself, okay, if I'm gonna work with anybody on a comic, right, I want to be able to meet them face to face and talk and then get a feel of them and everything.
Alright.
So I don't know how we managed to work so well without even meeting each other. The first time we met each other, we couldn't shut up.
Well,
The whole different engine team was down there, and they were like,
They just like
yeah.
I
They were
think
like,
to sideline this, right? To sideline this, it's actually about I find that true for some people that I got to know online as well, and I think it's authenticity. Because
That's
when you
true.
when you're online, right, interacting with someone, is that like a authentic version of you? And that person is also equally as authentic. And when you meet in person, right, it's like it just didn't matter whether you actually connected first online or not. You know?
Yeah. Okay, I have my answer.
Okay, go. See?
Okay.
This move up for you.
Okay, in terms of mental health comics, I never really read like anything that's like a full length story. It's usually like Sarah scribbles things like that, like very short
Yeah.
pieces. But mostly, like even comics in general, I don't actually read a lot of comics. Whoa! But because I don't, I get inspired by everything else. So actually, I get inspired by movies a lot. So like I will watch movies. They don't really specifically like talk about mental health, but within the story itself, mental health plays like a really like important story. It gives more stories. So one of the good ones that I remember was Mary and Max. It's this like claymation thing, black and white claymation, and it was about like this elder gentleman in New York having a pen pal with a small little girl in Australia. So they're both like, so the guy has like PTSD or something, and then this girl is like struggling through things as well. And for me, that movie was really good in showing me how like somebody with PTSD really like how he goes through his day, because like of course the exaggeration like is there lah, but it's very dramatic and animated in the way that it speaks about mental health. And yeah, I really, that was what really inspired me to, I don't know, be more conscious about like the words I use when talking about mental health, or like speaking to people who I don't know what is their struggle. Everyone's struggling somehow. So like it really like makes me very conscious about it. Yeah, because some people can, they're like they don't show, their face don't show, but inside they're like,
Right.
yeah.
Some people are very stoic, especially Asians. They are very stoic.
Honestly.
And why some Westerners who come here to work find that we are so-called unfriendly? It's not because of that. It's just that we don't like to air our dirty laundry, and therefore we are very stoic.
Yeah, it's a very different way of looking at things. Yeah.
See my stoic face.
Hi to anyone who has dropped by halfway. We actually 15 minutes more, but you can watch this live stream after we end it. It's going to be on my platforms as well, so no worries. But if you're here, say hi, and you have any questions, please post them, and we'll take our time to answer them. How has creating this comic affected your own personal mental health? Did it has any impact at all?
Jana, this one you go first. This one you definitely go first.
This one I suffer. Okay, no. During near the crunch time of this comic, because as I said, I have a day job, so
Yes.
the day job also was crunch time. So that was like 2 daggers straight to my head. But the one very important thing that I guess I learned is that it's really okay to say that you are struggling and you need some assistance. Because initially I'll be like, I can do it. I just need to organize my brain. But
Yeah.
because I'm so clouded with so many like tasks I have to do and like my emotions, like I put it aside, I suddenly will break down and I have no idea why. So I, like to a certain extent, I just like take a step back and look at it. Because I think was it Sophia or just I think Sophia who asked me, "Hi Jannah, how are you with your mental health? When you're working on a comic of mental health?" I was like, I'm not good. But yeah. After that we just like made some just minor adjustments here and there, which like helped me with the working process and everything. And actually, like, yeah, I learned that yes, asking for help is very valid. So until now, when I have trouble at work, that I know 100% I cannot do it by myself, because like I get clouded. So I just get other people to listen to me and really tell me like, actually, am I like over exaggerating or is it valid or not? Like, yeah. So then it like solves the problem right there and then before it becomes something that's so big that I cannot handle. Yeah.
I suppose that will be one of your key points, takeaways when you are working on this.
Yes. ask for help. No
Yeah,
shame in that.
I'm not sure why human beings in general don't like to ask for help. That
see.
happens across all cultures.
Yes.
It's something I also like. See, this is why Jannah's smarter than me. No, it's true, because like you figure this out now. It took me I think like 15 years working before I realized, oh, okay lah, better ask for help. Then struggle. Then even after 15 years, still also a bit difficult to ask for help. Most people my age, like they're terrible at asking for help also lah. It's not a generational thing. I think it's just whenever people learn and everything lah. But like for me, it was so by the time I got to this, like Difference Engine knows lah, the team. I work with them already on technically 3 projects lah. Work with them on 3 projects. Every single project I'll be like, hey, I don't know whether I can finish it at this time. Can I get an extension or here? Can I get an extension or here and everything? And I always ask for like reasonable extension. Don't like, hey, give me 5 years extension.
5 years extension.
I was gonna say 5 months and years came out. So like, I think it does help also. It's not just a case of, and this one I learned while working on this project, but also while working on, I think working with Difference Engine as a whole, it's not just learn to ask for help, but also on the other side of things, I think you need to be able to work with people if they need help, to be a bit understanding and be able to help. Yeah, when you can help, try to help also lah. So I think we're very lucky in that sense, because Difference Engine is the team down there, they're very good when it comes to putting in enough buffer period, putting in enough time so that you know we can still meet deadlines without killing the 2 of us while we're doing it. So whenever like Jannah asked, when I asked whether it was on this one or any of the other projects, they were like, okay, we can give you this much time, is that okay? And then we'll work from there and then we'll adjust accordingly. So I think it works both ways. I think people need to learn that it's okay to ask for help. It's in fact better to ask for help. But also I think on the flip side, if you are capable of giving help, you need to learn that it helps everyone. If you're giving help, it's not just helping the person that's asking for help, it's helping everyone. Yeah,
I guess empathy generally. For your fellow man. Not just a friend.
That's true.
Pardon me, you see the wind is so strong that my door behind me is open. You can see my washing machine.
Cat was walking through. Like maybe
you got to
open a door slamming. That's me trying to close it, but it's unhelpful at this moment. My curtains as well are flying all over the place.
It'd be funny if you said like a cat opened the door.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Any notable, because we are coming to the we are actually almost coming to the 1 hour. I'm always very surprised how fast it happens during this live stream when we get onto a conversation, and it's like very soon we are just about to wrap up. But before we kind of slow down to an outro, any notable readers' reactions when they picked up your book? Did they come up to you and say something that you remember and felt that you felt very nice about it, or something that you can remember forever because someone came up to you after picking up this book?
Handy, y'all can show my camera. How, Jana, you want to go first or I go first?
I don't really have anything like from audience because I guess I'm not the writer. But when it comes to the one thing that I'll remember because I struggled so hard trying to like manage my work flow, and like also I want to give good quality work. So one thing I remember is that it's not even from audience, it's from Wayne actually. Like in the WhatsApp chat, we like, I thought it would be, I think Wayne said something along like I knew that the drawings and everything would be good, but I didn't think it would be this good. I'm like, Wayne, I go toilet cry.
Go toilet cry all lah.
So
you very drama.
Yeah, no, because I think that night I stayed up until like quite late because I wanted to like one shot finish everything. So I was like in the morning tired, and then I think the text came around lunchtime. Then I was like, give me a moment.
That's thing for me, like because Sophia was I don't know why when I do a look. Wait, hang on, must
Do Korean one can already.
Korean.
I probably will mess it up also. So because like for me this was the bigger project were the other two that I'm working on with Difference Engine on. So those are the big, like in terms of scope of the project. Like for me, it was fairly straightforward for me and fairly easy to work on this one. And I'm so happy that like, Sophia and all that were checking in on you. I think I checked in on you like once or twice or so without even realizing how much you're going through. So like when I promise you, when I say like it turned out even better than I expected, right? That one is not to like, oh, okay, you stress. I try to help you. That like genuine, like I looked at the pages and I was like, it's one of those magical things lah. Like when you're writing comics, like you have this picture in your mind, right? Then suddenly your picture come back even better. You're like, how come I didn't even think of that?
Yeah.
Like there's so many instances in the comic. I can't even pinpoint one. There's so many instances in the comic where I had a mental picture, and then even small little details like the way her eyes will roll or whatever.
Yeah.
They'll come back and I'll be like, yeah, that makes so much more sense. Why did I write that in the first place?
It really works. It really works when I look at the panels, and Jana, you really did a good job.
Thank you. Okay, next comic to work on is talk about imposter syndrome. Thank you.
Now don't go toilet, okay? Later can go toilet cry.
Wait till after live stream. You want you hide behind curtain or what down there? It's like, oh, not crying.
But any readers that came up to you to give some comments that were heartwarming?
Not to me directly. I know that I know of at least one person. I won't say who, I won't say in what context lah. One reader of the comic gave the comic to somebody else, and the person who received the comic, they flipped through the comic, and I think they didn't even get halfway through the comic before they turned to the reader, the person who bought the comic itself. Okay lah, very, very complicated the way I say. Person A bought the comic and then passed to person B. Person B didn't even get halfway through the comic before they turned to person A and went, I need to talk to you about this. And so like it really is you're laughing because your door open.
Yeah, my door is here is very strong. I'm on the 18th floor. So pardon me, guys.
It's okay. I would like to believe it's a cat. But yeah, like and I really do think it's, again, this is not me like like, oh, give compliment one. I really do think it's a testament to Jana's art and the how expressive the characters are, that the person didn't even get halfway through the comic before they went, okay, I need to talk about this. Like it clearly hit them not on a logical level that like, oh, these are the words I'm using, but it was clearly a very emotional response that comes from like, you see a couple of words, you pick up a couple of words, but then you see the reactions of the character, and that's what it's clear that's what hit them, because they didn't even get halfway through and they were like, okay, I need to talk about this. So person A reached out to me and they said, this was I think like a week after the launch. So it wasn't even like, it didn't even take that long. It was a week after launch where person A reached out to me and said, hey, this affected a person I know. So yeah, that was like, immediately I was like, the person A was like, clearly the comic is doing what it's supposed to do. I was like, that's good. I'm happy to hear that.
Any advice? Yes.
Yeah, sorry.
No, you have something to say before I ask my last question.
So I was just gonna say, I hope, like, you know, for that one story I heard, there's at least 10 other stories that I didn't hear. I'm hoping that.
True. That's true. As we say, we have a culture of like not speaking up.
Yes.
Yes.
And
Clearly not for us, man.
No, clearly not for us. And the thing is, I don't mind if people
giving compliments, basically.
I don't. The thing is, I don't mind if people don't share their stories. Everybody's story is personal, everything. I just hope that even if you don't share the story, that's fine. I hope that in some small way, if the comic helped you talk about it, then I think me and Jana did our jobs. Me, Jana, and different we did our jobs.
Yes. Yeah. That's why I find it very interesting, because when I knew that this comic was about mental health, I thought it was one of those things that a depiction on a story about not the start of a conversation, but a story about something that has already happened or is happening in a dramatical form. So when I saw that it was actually about starting a conversation, I thought it was a very interesting point of juncture for the book to be based on. And I think then any advice before I ask, so actually I do have another question, but any advice to someone who will be having a similar conversation with, you know, like the one opposite that you don't see, sitting opposite Carissa? Any advice?
I think if you're a person who doesn't know much about mental health and somebody is talking to you about mental health, I think the simplest advice I can give is just listen. I think that listening, it helps you to learn more, but also sometimes just talking about what a person is going through helps that person more than you can ever imagine. Like it's not going to fix all their problems magically if you just sit down and listen to them, but it does help. So if listen, because then you can learn more, but also listen because this is a two-way thing. This helps both of you. So yeah, I think that's the one small piece of advice I'll give. Just listen.
I think listening is very difficult to do because it's not hearing, it's actually active listening. To be present when the person is speaking to you about a particular topic. I think many people still haven't learned to do that. And I think it's a very valuable, it's not a skill, but something that would really improve your relationship with people. I think that's why I find that this comic has a lot of relevance as well on, you know, being someone on the other side, because when you're reading the thing, right, you seem to be the person that Carissa's talking to. And any reactions from those that actually are like Carissa? Did they say that I'm gonna get this book for someone that I know?
I have had people say like, oh, okay, they're getting this to give it out to other people. Like not the person who person A just now. That's definitely one of the people. But yeah, I know that a few copies, at least a couple of copies, weren't bought specifically for that person, but they were bought specifically to give out. So I mean, like I said, I don't know how many of those copies given out have started conversations, but I hope, even if it's small conversation, hopefully.
True. I mean, that's what this book is all about. And
exactly.
That's why I was very interested to have this live stream as well, to just keep the conversation going.
Wait, let me do what Jana did now.
Yes.
I got no rings lah. That's the problem. Your thumbs up much nicer than mine, and then my camera also very lousy.
I think conversations are important, which is why sometimes I don't totally agree with. I mean, yeah, sometimes it's very valid. You decide to cancel someone, but when you do that without any conversation about this particular thing, then it's kind of moot point anyway, because it's not resolved. It's just you just I cancel you.
Yeah, I've clearly been involved in situations like that, and I always feel like you cancel, yes, but I think does the person who has been cancelled, have they learned anything from it?
True.
I think for me, it's not like cancelling is just part of a bigger conversation, and that conversation is about growth.
Correct.
I think what everybody needs to do is learn.
Yep.
Learn from. I like how I have the David Mack print on there that has a Neil Gaiman quote on there about learning from your mistakes. So nobody is perfect. Everybody's making mistakes. Everybody is learning. I think the most important thing is it's not about oh, you didn't know this or you didn't know that. Everything, we all don't know certain things. Don't know is one thing. You have to be willing to listen, and you have to be willing to learn these things, and then grow from there.
And willing to make amends if you make a mistake as well.
Yeah, and grow. Yeah, and everything like learn is like up to university, then you stop learning one. No.
No.
You keep learning. It's like, I mean, the official term is lifelong learning, but that is true. Like everybody, you should be growing. It doesn't matter what age you are. There are things you can learn, even if it's like mental health is one thing, but there's a whole lot of other things as well. And you should be willing, and you should try to be as capable as possible to learn. I think that's the most important.
Okay, and if anyone's watching this live or post live, I'm going to just put this on while we kind of like wrap up, so that you will know.
She got the book on there.
Where you can take a while. The connection is a bit slow today.
It's okay.
Okay.
You can also show.
Wow, give preview. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I like how when you open the page, right? The for some reason your virtual background like comes in.
Okay, so we'll chat a while the viewers can see this little short video clip from Difference Engine, and if you want to get the book, the link is right there at the end. Let me just move this as well so I can replay again. My last question is actually, because I just thought of this now. Someone mentioned about Charlie was asking a question about continuing the conversation, and the book is actually about the start of a conversation. Would there be any chance that this story will continue with a sequel?
When?
I would never rule it out. I would never rule out the potential for because there will always be a need to have this conversation. Always. People will learn, but there will always be people who don't know or I mean, hopefully it comes to a point in time where there will be as few people as possible who aren't aware of this thing. But for the foreseeable future, this conversation will always be happening. So that's it. I don't want to put on my salesman hat lah. But like, if
webcomic. You say what? Animation short?
No lah. Make comic already. Jana so stressed. Do animation or
My head
hire full
pain.
animation. No, I wouldn't rule it out. I think if we see an aspect of this conversation that we feel that that there's some way we can highlight it, then yes, I think I will never rule out the possibility of a sequel. I certainly wouldn't rule out a possibility of working with Jana again, that's for sure.
The team up has to continue.
We're the dream team right here.
She this is not the first time I said it. So she
I do hope though. I mean, maybe not
Yeah.
so soon because of I know you guys have different things going on, but it would be
Yeah.
nice because as you said in the beginning, that mental health topic is so wide.
Yeah.
There's so many things to say, and I felt that since we have already established and some people have come to kind of like Carissa, that she'll be a interesting icon, like a like a familiar face that can bring us on the different parts of this journey relating to mental health. Well, I'm just throwing it out there.
Yeah.
but
No,
it'll be-
I think also because like something you just said also occurred to me also, because her journey, Carissa's journey is very specific to her, and it starts out broadly enough because we're not talking specifically about depression. We're talking about mental health conditions
Yes.
on a whole. So I think if we do a sequel, it will probably, as far as possible, I would like it to be it covers an aspect of mental health that's broad as well. Because if we do something specifically about one side of it, then maybe another side of it they don't have enough stories representing them. So I want to try to get as many people talking about mental health, different aspects of it, and then from there those conversations can continue to branch out into more specific areas as well. But yeah.
Okay.
Also work with Jana again lah.
Yay! I really enjoyed working with Rain on this conversation. So fun. Really.
I did too. I really did too. And like again, I don't want always make her shy. Everything.
Oh my god, you
like,
made me shy.
The thing is, she made it so easy to work with her. So I think if for no other reason, it's because it was so easy and so much fun to work with Jana that I definitely want to do another one again.
Yay! All right, I think we better not let those people who are viewing wondering why we are running so long. And we'll kind of respect the hour.
Because we're very talkative. That's why.
Yeah, next time 2 hour podcast.
Hold on, don't leave while I say goodbye and kind of like give a prep on what's coming up next, and I'll bring you back on screen soon. So just hold on for a while. All right. Hi. So thanks for joining us, everyone, for this 1 hour or so. And for those who are going to watch post live, hope you enjoyed the discussion as well. And for the next month, I have invited a guest, and hopefully this will be our planning stage. Will get on as soon as possible, but I can't give you the name yet. Do look up for more announcements on that on my social media platforms, and you'll find out when the next live stream will be for August, and then also who the guests will be. Upcoming, of course, we have a few ideas as well about who's going to come on board, and I'm kind of excited to see who are able to speak to us and share more about their creative endeavors and their journey doing either writing or artwork or cosplays or creative things like this in our region. I'm also looking for more guests, so either for this year or next year. So if you have any ideas on who you would like to see on my live stream who are Southeast Asian creators, just drop me a note or a tweet or Facebook comment, And I have a YouTube channel, but I haven't reached my number of subscribers in order to get a vanity handle yet. I'm kind of 29 people short. Really at 71. So if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, please do so. It's on my event page as well, the link, because the link is so long, right? I haven't reached 100, so I can't get a vanity custom handle to tell you that it's Red Dot Diva. Hopefully we'll reach that. We'll reach that soon. And I'll bring both of them back, and they can kind of like promote themselves before we say goodbye to you. Wayne, do you have anything upcoming in terms of your projects? I know you
a
have.
lot.
And please promote yourself. Like where they can people find you?
Can. I promote myself very good one. Because got a lot of things to promote. Okay lah. I'll say first, y'all can find me online at Wayne Ray Writes. That's my website. Okay. That's my website. You can see all my available books and comics and all the upcoming projects I've got coming soon. Okay, I'm good. I'll go through the list. I'll try to be very quick, Anna. I've got Work-Life Balance, comic and prose mashup with Benjamin Chi. That's coming out later this year, either end of September, early October. That's the rough release date. At the same time, we will have the text-based game that complements the book. That's called Internal Damnation. That will come out about the same time as well. Also around that time or slightly later, I have a new short story coming out in Jason Eric Lundberg's Fish Eats Lion Redux collection. That's from Epigram. So all of these plus there's the podcast I do with Ka Ong, Ghost Maps. That's twice a month at our YouTube, Spotify, and all those channels. That's you can find all this basically through my website. But yes, all of these.
What's the anthology with Epigram about? Is there a theme?
It's just speculative fiction. It's Southeast Asian speculative fiction.
Mm.
Yeah, so we've got like a whole bunch of people in there. Mehan Boy is in there. Victor Ocampo is in there. Like a whole bunch of names. So I'm very lucky to be part of the collection because like there's a lot of writers that I really admire in that collection as well. So I'm happy to be part of that one. Yeah, that Work-Life Balance, Internal Damnation, Ghost Maps, all coming out. Plenty. Yes, all at my website that you saw just now. Yes.
Jannah, what about you?
Me,
Okay,
you can find me on Instagram, very easy, at Southeast Asian. Yes, that's the handle. That's my me account, but if
can
you
I
want to
put
see my artwork,
your Wix site?
sure. Yeah, that's my all my artwork. So you see biryani, you can also type that into Instagram. That's like my art account. So biryani is like nasi biryani. Yeah, I don't know if I have anything work related to promote. I have a comic-ish thing coming out at Changi Airport sometime.
Ooh.
Yeah, like I did something for them for like one of the, like they have like a panel series. So me and a bunch of other freelancers. So yeah, once it's out at the Changi Jewel Bridge, I'll let you guys know.
Yes.
How I like how you say I don't know whether I got anything to promote. Your artwork gonna appear at Changi. Don't know whether I got anything. Walao.
Sorry lah, imposter syndrome. That was part two.
So yeah, many exciting things coming up actually. I would go to the Changi to view the
just
artwork.
To see, yeah.
I love murals and things like that in public spaces. All right, then. Thanks, Wayne, and thanks, Jannah, for joining me today. And I hope that those watching will be able to get some, information, or at least feel that they are not alone in this topic. And if you haven't got it yet, please go get Worlds Apart from the Difference Engine website. I think they are available in other places as well, right?
A few other places.
I think
if you go to Difference Engine's website, you should be able to get it from there. But then there's Epigram and Wormhole and all the others lah. But yes.
All right. Okay. See you guys soon. Thanks for joining us. Bye.
Thank you, Diva. Bye. Thank you, everyone. Bye.